Hello and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Talks or Marketing Talks. Pardon me. It's been a long week. My name is Gary Dehart. Our speaker today is Janelle Sikora, who is the co-founder of Kajabra, not Kajabra, Kajabra Marketing for Accountants. Welcome, Janelle. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, just as people that file into the room, question of the day. We're just coming out of Scaling New Heights. We were both there, saw you a couple of days ago. And what was the most enlightening thing you saw at Scaling New Heights?
Hmm. Um, there was a lot of talk about AI. There was a lot of talk about AI. I think it was the presentation I was just telling you about. It was one where it was a Ron Baker presentation, about his newer concept. And he was talking about leveraging AI in accounting firms. And that it was really, really interesting. He's got a lot of really neat things in the works. And a new book coming out. So that was really interesting. Had a lot of great conversations with people, which was a lot of fun. But heavy emphasis on AI for sure, and that's gonna really drive us all forward. It's gonna look like a different industry in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd say.
For sure. And then is that part of what this today's session is all about with the simple automation strategies? Are you leveraging AI in that?
Not to a great extent. The goal here is just to kind of talk about three simple automations that anyone can implement, and at least have some level of marketing on autopilot. Um, but yeah, we'll touch on it a little bit.
All right, well, perfect. Well, I will let you roll here. This is not a CPE, so you get 0.0 CPE credits for this, but you get loads and loads of value and wisdom from Janelle. So it's Friday afternoon. Janelle, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody else, for being here. And hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. And happy Friday, everybody. So we have the next 30 minutes together. I'm really excited to kind of walk you through some practical, easy to implement marketing automations designed specifically for accounting firms. So let's dive into this. I will tell you up front that automation does imply that there will be some tools involved in this. So I will take you through some different tools that you might want to consider using, but all of the tools that I'll be covering are pretty easy. They're pretty self-explanatory. But I also realize that you guys are accountants, you're not marketers. So at the very end of this, I'll give you my contact information as well. That way, if you have questions or need pointed in the right direction, need a little bit of guidance or a little bit of help, I'm always happy to help the insightful accountant community. Okay, so let's get started. Um, what we're going to cover today in the next 30 minutes. If marketing kind of feels like a grind to you, or if it's one of those things that you do only when you have time, right? Because you never have time. My goal in this session is really just to take you through three simple automations, really as starting points to take action. I want to try and make it manageable and repeatable for you and just give you three that will make an impact. So we're going to start out by talking about what manual marketing is and traditional marketing, why that isn't scalable, what marketing automation means. We're going to walk through these three automations, and then I'm going to take you through just some different tools. You've probably heard of almost all of them on here, that might help you get started. And if at any time you have a question, just throw something into the chat or Q&A either way, and I'll try and stop every once in a while and see if there are any questions. All right. So what's the problem? Manual marketing is time consuming, it's exhausting, very inconsistent, and it often gets pushed to the wayside. And if this sounds familiar, you are not alone. I can assure you, I've had many of these conversations at Scaling New Heights and just in my daily work. It's honestly a challenge that I hear most firm owners face. Tends to be that either it's one of those things that really just gets put off either because firms aren't sure what to do or they don't know how to do it. But it's important because this is really how business slips through the cracks and into your competition's client base. So, marketing never used to be something, it never used to be a thing really for accountants at all. But now that we are all trying to move into that world of more monthly subscriptions and higher, higher ticket items, marketing is critical if you want to sell more than just commodities. So, What do I mean by manual marketing? Here are some examples of that. Having a database of leads, but not following up with them. Believe it or not, I just met with a firm that has a huge database of leads. It's old and they've never followed up with them and they don't know what to do. To me, as a salesperson and marketer, that's a huge missed opportunity. Also, manual marketing would be something like setting out with good intentions for maybe creating and sharing content. So after maybe a few posts or videos or articles, it just fizzles out and falls by the wayside just because it's manual. It's hard to keep up. You can be excited about something, but if you don't follow through, it's not worth doing in the first place. Also, there are firms that I've worked with that have spreadsheets. So I know accountants love spreadsheets. They love Excel, and that's great, but it's not how to automate your marketing. And so having a spreadsheet where you're tracking leads and proposals and opportunities are great, but it relies on someone in your firm to execute. And truly, it's exhausting and it's a recipe for inconsistency. So I want to share with you a story about a firm owner that I worked with, but this story is not isolated to him. It's very common, and you may be able to relate to it. I'm going to call this firm owner David. So we were working together, and he was telling me that he had this great discovery call, and it was with a really good prospect and an ideal prospect that we had identified, kind of fell within his ideal client profile, and they clicked and really hit it off. He felt great about this meeting, and he said that the prospect actually said, "Well, this is exactly what I've been looking for." So David knew he had a hot lead, and he said, "I'm going to send over a proposal by the end of the week." So here's what happened. Then he, gets off the phone, gets out of the meeting with them, and client fires and team issues and just the daily stuff takes over. And the next thing you know, it's next week, and we still haven't sent the proposal out. So he finally remembered it and thought, okay, well, better late than never. I'm going to send it out. So he sent out a proposal and with in the email an apology for the delay. And the response was crushing because it was, "Hey, David, really appreciate the follow up, but we went ahead and signed with another firm." Why do I tell you that? Because the worst part, it wasn't pricing issue. It was a great fit, so it wasn't a fit issue. It was follow-up failure. So that's one of the automations that we're going to be talking about today. That's actually going to be number two. But that's the thing about manual marketing and sales. If it depends on your time and your memory, and let's be honest, if your follow-up strategy involves sticky notes or your inbox or just trying to remember things, it isn't a sustainable strategy. So automation is, however, and that's why we're talking about that today. So the solution to the problem is automate, right? Automate just some simple things. But automation is not about removing the human touch. That's not what we're trying to do here. It's about making sure that your follow up, whether it's leads, proposals, clients, old leads, that follow up, making sure that actually happens while you're off putting out fires or sleeping or on vacation. It's about creating a system that works even when you're not working so that it's kind of your marketing engine running in the background. Another example. So imagine this. Imagine that it's Sunday night and you're reviewing your calendar for the upcoming week. I do that every Sunday evening. I look at all my appointments, make sure I have everything squared away. I'm prepared for everything. And so if you're doing that, and let's just pretend you see someone on there that you don't know, and you think, well, how did this person land on my calendar? So you start digging into who are they, and you find out it's a new prospect. You do a little digging, maybe you look up their website, maybe you find out who they are on LinkedIn, or maybe they filled out a questionnaire. On your website. So you review that and you think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a perfect prospect. That is what proper automation will do for you. It will work in the background to grow and nurture your lead and your sales pipeline. So the whole idea here is that you should never be in a position where you're looking at your business thinking, oh, geez, we've got to grow by X amount of dollars in the next 6 months. And I have no idea where it's going to come from because we know that you can't rely on referrals. They're not predictable. All right. So automation number one, we're going to start with leads. This is your kind of your always on lead generation tool. What is a lead magnet? It gives value to your prospects up front and it begins that relationship even while you sleep. We're going to talk about this in sort of this four-step funnel, but before you ask, well, Janelle, where do I set up this funnel? We're going to get there. But I want to start with what a lead magnet is. I talk about lead magnets a lot. If you've seen any of my marketing talks, you've probably heard me talk about them, lead generators, lead magnets. But lead magnets are essentially like a PDF or a video or something that people have to give you their email address in order to access or to download. Okay. So a lead magnet might be something like, what are the top three questions you always get asked from an ideal prospect? You could take that and turn it into a little ebook or a guide or a checklist. Or even better, you could use sort of an interactive tool like creating a budgeting template or a monthly expense and revenue tracker. Ideally, anything that your ideal client is going to find value in, something that they want. Now, when you create a lead magnet, you can create it in a lot of different ways. Like I said, it could be a video that you put on YouTube or Vimeo and just give access to people who give you their email address, or it could be a PDF or something that they download. And I strongly recommend Canva. If you create a checklist or an ebook or a guide, you can design it really, really easily in Canva. Most people are familiar with Canva. If you're not, hit me up after this and I'll be happy to give you a little tutorial on Canva. I love it. But what are the other pieces you need for this? So once you actually have a lead magnet created, and I recommend creating actually more than one, the other pieces to the automation, kind of putting it all together, are you're going to need either a form, like where someone puts in their name and their email address and their phone number, and then hit submit, or even a full landing page with that form embedded in it. You're also going to need something to follow that form. So when they hit submit and they want to get that guide for should I buy or what are the business expenses I can write off in my summer vacation or whatever the lead magnet might be. Um, when they download that, there needs to be some emails that go out after it. It could be one email just delivering that asset, or it could be multiple emails. But you need to determine how many emails are going to be triggered by someone submitting that form and write those emails. Then you can put it together into an automation. You can use tools like Kajabra for obvious shameless plug. Typeform is great for forms. HubSpot, I'm sure everyone's heard of HubSpot, MailChimp, ConvertKit, you name it. Any of these types of tools can be used to create a form, to design a landing page, and to design the emails that follow, and then put them into an automated sequence. Now, Gary asked about AI when we began, asked if I was going to be covering it. The extent that I'll be covering AI is if you're thinking, oh my God, I have no idea what to write in these emails, it's okay. You're not alone. ChatGPT is your buddy. It's your brainstorming buddy, but it's not your copy and paste buddy. So um, there are some pretty prescriptive things you can do with these follow-up emails that would be a whole different conversation. The key is just have an automation in place where someone can download the lead generator. They're going to get it delivered automatically, and then they're going to get a few more emails, one, maybe two, gently nudging them to book an appointment with you. Your goal here is to kind of establish trust, build your authority, build that relationship, and like just gently nudge that person to book a call. All right. The other goal here is building up your lead list, if you will. And I want to touch on this for just a minute because it's really important. It's one thing to have a social media following, but you don't own that. Mark Zuckerberg could wake up tomorrow and decide he's just going to change something. There was a Facebook group, a peer group that I'm in, has thousands of people in it that got obliterated this week. Literally, people are still talking about that. Just got obliterated. We have no idea why or how, but you don't want to rely on social media. You want your own list that you can market to. And that is another objective of having a lead magnet funnel in place. All right, so what does this look like in real life? I'm going to give you an example. So pretend this is your website, it's ours. On our website, on the kajabra.com website, you're going to see this little blue box, and it is to download our, what is it? It's for downloading our marketing guide. And if you were to click on that little blue box, not a landing page, but just a form is going to pop up. And the form's going to have you put in a little bit of information. You're going to hit submit down below, and then you're going to get that guide delivered to your email. That's how an automation should work. I can't remember if we have emails, follow-up emails that go behind this particular one or not, but that's how the automation should work. Now, regardless of what tool you use, this third image over here that's really tiny, and I'm sure you can't see, but that's okay. That is a peek behind the curtains of what's happening in your tool that you use. So for us, we use Kajabra, and what you want to be able to do in any tool you use is see things like you want to see that the asset was delivered, that in the client record you can see, did they get it? Did they open it? Did they visit your website? You can kind of gauge their level of interest based on what they do. So that's just a look into the back end of whatever tool you're using to create and own and manage this automation. Okay, one more word on lead magnets, and we're going to move into the second automation. Lead magnets are changing quickly. So a long time ago, really up till fairly recently, PDFs, more static lead magnets were really, really valuable, and they are still very valuable. People download them all the time. But what's happening is there's a shift. Just like AI is impacting everything, it's impacting this as well. It's sort of up the ante, if you will. AI powered lead magnets are driving a whole different user experience. Think about this. People are curious and they want to interact with something when there's a tool that's going to tell them something about themselves or about their businesses. So things like interactive quizzes or personalized calculators or some sort of a dynamic report that gets delivered to their inbox after they fill out some sort of a quiz or a form. Those are really high value lead magnets that will increase the amount of leads that you get. So consider now those are more complex lead magnets too. So if you are going to use something like this, that's something you probably are going to want to work with a marketing pro to create. But they are also really valuable. And by the way, any lead magnet you have, it doesn't have to just live on your website. You can share that landing page or that form, or you can drive people to it through social media as well. You can reference it in emails. You want to get it in front of people as much as possible. You want them opting in so that you can grow that list and continue to nurture those leads, which is what we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Okay. So we're talking about attracting leads, right? And getting people to take that first step in your sales process. But what about when they get to the next step? What about when they get to the proposal step? And how are you going to prevent a great opportunity from signing up with your competition? Um, I want to tell you a little story. So when I started out years ago selling tax and workflow and audit software, I was in St. Louis and I drove to Dubuque, Iowa, and I wanted to meet with a new prospect. And this guy was an awesome firm, great prospect. And we had a fantastic meeting. The energy was high. By the end of the meeting, the entire team was bought in. And I knew that if I waited to follow up with him, like a few days or a week later, or whenever I got back with from my trip, the iron would go cold. And I was so excited because I was really brand new. This was going to be my first big deal. And I knew I couldn't leave without next steps in place. So I'm telling you this because I want to impress upon you the importance of follow up. So what I did was I booked a meeting with them about 48 hours afterwards. I think it was roughly 2 days afterwards because I wanted to get back together and walk through the proposal with them versus sending it over to them and hoping they'd get to it in their email as their time allowed. I wanted to review it with them in person also to answer questions, but then to close the deal. So right after the meeting, I sent a quick recap and I attached an article that was relevant to them. And then when we got back together to review the proposal within that 48 hours, there were some questions that were addressed and I was able to gain commitment. Now, not all deals go that way, but the lesson is after a great meeting, silence kills deals, just like Dave that I was telling you about a few slides ago. So this automation, this second automation is really, really simple and it keeps the momentum going and it reinforces trust. All you need to do is um, trigger an automation to go out after you send out a proposal. So an example might look like this. Let's just say you have a great discovery meeting with a new prospect and you put your proposal together. Now, whatever proposal software you're using, whether it's Ignition or Anchor or SafeSend, whatever it is, um, you should have a way to trigger an automation, a follow-up automation that goes behind that proposal. So, for example, um, some of the automations that we have set up for our clients, if they're doing their proposals in Kajabra or Ignition or another piece of software, when they hit send on that proposal, we've built an automation that goes out behind it. Usually that starts with one text message going to the client saying, "Hey, just wanted to let you know I put your proposals in your inbox. Just wanted to let you know in case it doesn't show up, be sure and check your spam." And then just maybe 2 to 3 more touch points over the next 2 weeks, just reminding them, "Hey, if you've got any questions, let me know. Let's get back together and discuss next steps," or whatever that might look like. The key here is whatever proposal software you're using, make sure that you have the ability to set up a follow up sequence behind it so that you don't have to think about doing that. Let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to touch on here? Oh, there is. One other thing about proposals. So there are going to be a fair amount of people who don't move forward, right? Most of the time when you have a discovery call, if you um, click with the person, if you send them a proposal and you follow up and you close the deal, your closing rate is going to be pretty high. There are going to be people who maybe it was a really good fit, but they just can't bring themselves to break up with their accountant right now, or whatever happens, happens. It just may not be the right timing. You don't want to lose that lead. So one other thing that I want to tell you about, and this really does kind of lead us to our third automation, is that after those 2 or 3 touch points, if nothing happens, if they ghost, you should also consider dropping that lead into some sort of a regular nurture campaign. And that brings us to automation number 3. But before I go there, I just want to make sure there are no. Okay. All right, perfect. I just want to make sure there's no questions. Get rid of this. Okay. All right. So automation number 3. So first of all, we talked about how do we get leads into, how do we attract leads with a lead magnet, right? How do we, and through and automate that? How do we automate the proposal follow-up process? Now we want to talk about how do we drip on people ethically, and how do we create an automation for that ghost funnel? I like to call it a ghost funnel when people have ghosted, right? Because everyone has them. So these are really 2 different automations, but the same concept. One, you'll have a separate one for your clients. So for your clients as well as your prospect list, you really should have an automation set up that allows you just to continually deliver value and stay top of mind. So for clients, as an example, it could just be a monthly newsletter. And I'm not talking about a text heavy, boring, highly technical monthly newsletter. I'm talking about one that has the same 3 sections each month. Maybe it has a little humor, maybe it has a staff highlight, and maybe it just has some really high level updates or quick tips. Doing that is going to keep you front and center and top of mind with your clients, and they're going to see value. If you only talk to them once a year or even twice a year, and they're not thinking about you at all in between, but they see something of high value from from a competitor, your opportunity for retention goes down a little bit. So if you want to keep your clients sticky, if you want to retain them, I strongly recommend having some sort of a high value newsletter that gets sent out each month. The ones that we do for firms, I will tell you, are they get very high open rates, anywhere from 60 to 80% open rates, because clients actually do want to hear from their accountants once in a while. Not too much. We don't want to flood them with email, but once a month is perfect, once a quarter at minimum. Now let's talk about your ghost funnel. So your ghost funnel, so for prospects who have like ghosted after a discovery call or a proposal, or maybe they just downloaded your lead generator, lead magnet, but they've never booked a call with you. Staying in front of them with like really non-salesy value will dramatically increase your chances of doing business with them when they're ready. That's the key. You don't have to reinvent the wheel each month. All you have to do is share like a quick little email, like sharing blog post, or maybe just answering a common client question, or providing a tax or a business tip, or sharing an update, like the IRS no longer issuing or accepting paper checks later this year. Consistency is definitely more important than perfection here. And when it comes to how to get this done, I recommend either sitting down and writing the content in batch, or hiring someone to write it for you. You can easily use ChatGPT and create content in batch, keep it short. We're going to talk about how to humanize that here in a minute. Um, but I definitely recommend batching several months at once so that you can be consistent if you are going to be the one creating the content. All right, I want to talk to you about some topics. So if you're thinking about, all right, well, yeah, I do have probably 30 people or 300 people or however many that, on a list somewhere that maybe never took my proposal or never showed up after a discovery call, never responded to the proposal, or downloaded something and ghosted. What can I send them? What can I drip on them on a monthly basis? Well, here's some examples of things that are really great. And I actually copied and pasted one example in here. I subscribe to this lady's emails because they're fantastic. But here's some topics like, should you buy a car through your business? People always want to know that. My daughter even told me not too long ago, hey, mom, I saw something on TikTok that said you could buy a G Wagon and write it off. Is that true? People love that type of information. Stop overpaying taxes on your real estate investments, or a 40% tax credit for childcare benefits, or are you overpaying the IRS? Little short subject lines with a couple lines of high value are going to cause people to pause and go, huh, I didn't know that. And I guarantee you they're probably not getting that information from their existing accountants. This on the right-hand side here is by a woman. Her name is Barry Sanaim, I believe is how you pronounce it. And this is just an example of one. I'm in her drip campaign and she consistently shows up with high value about once a month. All right. Let's keep it human. That's the important thing. You can use ChatGPT. In fact, everyone should be leveraging it as a brainstorming buddy. But you want to make sure that, again, you're not copying and pasting. Be very conversational in these emails and make sure that it's personalized. It sounds like you, um, and keep it real. No sales talk. Use your tone and language. And then, try video. If you feel comfortable with video, I love having like little Loom videos go out. You'll get a notification when someone watches it, so you'll be able to see if anyone actually engages with it. And just focus on providing those nuggets of value. Remember, too, the subject line is really important. That should be your hook to make someone want to open that email. And always have a gentle call to action at the end. And it might just be, book a tax assessment or book a discovery call, whatever you want to call it, have something at the end. And think about, what are they probably not hearing from their current accountant? All right, so some tools. Fragmentation is a huge problem in this industry, and no one wants yet another piece to learn or manage piece of software, but you do need a marketing CRM. So if you're going to do any of this. So a couple of different tools out here that are great that you can use as a marketing CRM. Obviously, Kajabra, I might be a little biased. HubSpot, Pipedrive, for scheduling, if you're just wanting a tool for scheduling, everyone's familiar with Canopy. Kajabra, of course, we do or not Canopy, Calendly. And Kajabra, of course, we do that too. And then for file delivery, if you're thinking, well, if I have a PDF, how do I actually get it to someone? A lot of CRMs will allow you to deliver it straight through the CRM. Some don't. But even using something simple like your Google Drive or Dropbox will work there as well. All right. So what are you going to do next? Small steps lead to big results. You don't need to do it all today, just start. Choose one of those three that you think is the easiest to implement and build it out from there. Choose one of those tools and move forward with it and build out one of those automations. Think about it like this, though, too. I always like to liken this to a gym membership. If you say, okay, I'm going to go join a gym tomorrow and you haven't worked out for years, you go on Monday and you wake up on Tuesday and you might be really, really sore, but you're feeling very accomplished. And you look in the mirror, even though you're sore and feeling accomplished, you look the same. But as you continue to go and stick with it longer over time, you're going to see a difference. That's how this works. When you stick with it and when you have these automations in place, you will see results over time and you will build a lead and a sales pipeline without having to spend a dollar in ads. All right. So the goal isn't to be perfect. It's really to be present and consistent, more than anything consistent. Um, your future clients they're there, and automation can really help you reach them and amplify what you can do if you were doing it manually. We covered a lot of like really technical things in this presentation. I really kind of wrestled with how to make this as simple as possible. But I also know that if someone was trying to make QuickBooks Online simple for me, I would be like, I have no clue what to do. So I understand if you're thinking that, I hear you. and I would love to answer any questions or help you get started with your automation. So I will offer that if you would like, if you're like, God, I want to do this, but I have no idea where to start, just go to my website. It's kajabra.com and click the little blue button in the top right hand corner, schedule some time with me, and I will get you pointed in the right direction. And then, of course, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I love connecting there, and you can hit me up in my direct messages or whatever you'd like. But the biggest takeaway from this is that these are three simple automations that every firm should have in place so that they're working for you in the background. The hardest part is getting them set up. Once they're set up and running, you're good to go. And if you need help with what tools should I use or how do I set this up, schedule a few minutes and I'll get you pointed in the right direction. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for tuning into this. Let me just make sure I have no questions. I think we are good. I hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July as well. And I think that's it for today, Matt and Gary.